Hello game fans, and welcome as always to the Steam Chamber. Today we are taking a look at Volitions Saints Row 4, the latest in the fantastic Saints Row series. Now this one is a little bit different from the previous outings. In this one, after events of the prologue mission, which I will not spoil here as it is great fun, you end up as President of the United States. Now some years after that, Earth is then invaded by an alien race known as the Xin, and as a result of this invasion, you and many other people are put into a virtual reality world, which is a representation of Stillwater. Now, whilst in this virtual reality world, in order to escape your prison and destroy the Xin from within, you have to disrupt the system and therefore take control of the virtual reality world. Now, to disrupt the system, you perform a various mix of different missions across the whole of Stillwater, which you have access to from the very beginning. There's nothing like locked off from you. You have access to the entire island, 3 islands, and you're also able to do pretty much any of the missions from the get-go. Now, after you're best off doing a few bits and then going for the mission, the escape, because the game starts to bring in a few changes right after the escape, which is a fairly early mission. Once you've done the escape, you are able to start controlling various areas of the map. So to do this, you have to complete the missions, and you also have to hack the stores, and by doing this you will take over certain areas of the map, which then allows you to take on party members or a posse or a crew. So what essentially happens is the area becomes Saints controlled, and then you're able to press the Z key and you're able to take on a crew and use them to do whatever you want. So essentially, if you point your weapon at something, they'll start shooting at it, which can be really handy when you come up against a large group of enemies that are scattered about. Now, when it comes to a large group of enemies that are fairly close, you're really not going to need any help. The game's not that difficult. It is fun, however, and they've pretty much gone for that rather than making it tough. However, if you are in a large scattered group of enemies, things do tend to get a bit tougher, because whilst you're running around having a good time and pile driving them into the ground, there are several enemies scattered around you shooting you in the face, which isn't always that helpful. Now, as for the missions, there is, as I said, there is a large variety of missions. There are a real mix of missions. You've got everything from hijack missions where you have to hijack certain vehicles, or you have to target certain rogue programs, or you might have to commit fraud by throwing yourself in front of vehicles and tallying up a huge score, much in the same vein as things like Trials Evolution. You've also got alien towers which you have to climb to the top of in order to take control of, and you've got flashpoints, which are small areas that are controlled by larger alien forces. You have to take them on and take control of the flashpoint. You've also got 6 hotspots, which are large areas that are protected by force fields. In order to take these down, you have to take out small generators that are powering the force field. You're then able to take control of the hotspot. Now, on top of this, there are also the quests that you'll get from your 2 quest givers, and generally the quests involve you going and doing the missions that you could access anyway, which is scattered across the map, but by doing this through them, you then get access to certain rewards, which are normally either powers, new powers, or new special weapons, such as the dubstep gun, which I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun with. Now, I've tried to make the video as varied as possible for this, but of course it is a massive game, and I've put something like 20 odd hours into it so far, so of course I'm not going to be able to fit that into a 10-minute video. But like I say, there is a huge variety, and quite often there are very different controls for the different type of missions that are available, such as when you're in flying vehicles, they normally have 2 different types of control sets, as well as you've got fraud missions, which require slightly different controls, and you've got running missions, which are called blazing missions, which also require slightly different controls, but despite all this and despite all these control systems, the game handles really, really well. I mean, I reviewed a game this week that had one set of controls and they couldn't even do that right. However, this game manages to switch seamlessly between them, and everything is really, really intuitive and really well balanced, and really it does not need a gamepad. I mean, the keyboard controls have been really well thought out, and it's not some half-assed port. I mean, it runs really well. It's optimized really, despite being a press build, the build is really well optimized. It ran really, really well on my system. I'm running an i5 and a 650 Nvidia card. And speaking about specs, the graphics are really quite nice as well. The game has very much got a cyberpunk / sort of neon Tron look to it at times. The only downside about the graphics is the fact that because you're in this virtual reality world, you are limited to night essentially, which is a bit of a shame, because I do like to see that day-night transition that you get in the real world, in real-world sandbox games as a rule. However, it is also quite good for setting mood, and the game has a really good mood. Also, graphically speaking, the game does something quite interesting. Because you're in a virtual reality world, it gives everything this virtual reality look. So every now and then you might walk past someone, they might sort of glitch, and the walls will glitch, and the walls will show like a grid pattern every now and then. It's a nice little touch that just reminds you constantly that you are in this virtual reality world. The game has also got some fantastic music. Obviously, you won't be seeing or hearing that in the video, as I've got the volume turned down, and whenever I was capping, I was generally had the music off because I don't want to hit the licensing issues on YouTube. I've obviously got permission to show this on the day of the embargo, at the end of the embargo from Deep Silver. However, I do not have permission from the individual artists to play their music, so you won't be hearing that. However, there is a really nice selection, and you will quite often find that the music syncs up really well with whatever you're doing. Now, gameplay wise, because of the nature of the game, because of the somewhat RPG elements of it and the power-ups, you will quite often find yourself not even driving in the game, but quite often find yourself running around and jumping about and causing general mayhem, as the sort of sci-fi RPG element really lends itself well to that, because you can get various power-ups and boosts and such. Then you will often find that you want to stay on foot, because it can just be more fun. However, the driving handles really, really well, much better than any GTA game I've ever played. The driving handles fantastically, and there's a really nice selection of cars, and you're able to customize them to your heart's desire. Once you've been in a car, if you press and hold the N key, it will save it to your gateway, so that way anytime you go into a car shop or showroom or mechanics, you can respawn that car at no cost. You can customize it for a small cost and then save it, and you can customize it as many times, as many variations as you want. Now, this is also quite interestingly the same for the weapons. Now, there are several different types of weapons. You've got a couple of handguns, you've got a couple of submachine guns, a couple of shotguns, and a couple of assault rifles, as well as your special weapons and your alien weapons. Now, each of the weapons can be customized and given a new skin. Now, interestingly, this new skin not only changes the look of the weapon, but will also change the sound of the weapon. So, for example, the revolver, if you customize it to the Deckard, it will then make it look like Deckard's pistol from Blade Runner. And not only will it make it look like it will make it sound more like it. You've also got the option of turning the 9mm into a Star Trek original series type phaser. And one of my personal favourites, you can turn the SMG, I think it's the Uzi, but I could be wrong. You can turn the SMG into Robocop's machine gun pistol from Robocop films. So there's some really nice tweaks and touches there. It means that what would be a relatively limited set of weapons becomes an absolutely vast set of weapons, and it just all adds to the fun of the game. Quite interestingly, you can also get some not so licensed outfits to go with your pistols as well, with your weapons rather. So one of the pistols becomes Han Solo's blaster in everything but name, and you can also get Han Solo and Boba Fett's outfits, although the colours are somewhat off, but funnily enough, you can customise the colours, so I don't think you'll have any trouble there manipulating them however you want. Overall, I think the game does everything that it's trying to do, and it does it well. I really would not be surprised to see this game getting Game of the Year from a lot of publications. I think it's going to be a big seller. I think it's going to be very popular. I do think it's definitely the absolute jewel in the series. And I think for the first time, people are going to be playing the game and not comparing it to GTA, because I think the third one managed to set itself apart quite well from the GTA series, but there was still the thing of it's GTA's imposter. However, this game very much is its own game. It isn't trying to be anything else. It's trying to be its own thing, and it's trying to be fun. And that's what it does really well, and better than a lot of other games of its type. I mean, I've often found in sandbox games that I end up messing around and then get bored and don't do the missions. However, because this game is set up to be fun from the get-go, it is fun, and you will stick to what you're doing. Plus, you don't have to do anything silly like going and taking your girlfriend bowling. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you very much for listening and watching. And if you did enjoy the video, please do like, comment and subscribe. I'm sorry if the voiceover sounds a little bit odd today. That's because I managed to break my microphone right before recording, so I'm using a backup. There should be some more videos in the next couple of days, including a new Greenlight highlights. Thank you all for watching yet again.